Ever hit that buy button and feel your heart kind of jump into your throat? That, my friend, is the mental game of trading. And today we're going to break down how to make it work for us, not against us. We're diving into an episode of the Trading Psychic podcast, and before you think we've gone off the deep end, we're talking about the psychology of trading, the mental toughness it takes to make smart moves, even when the market feels like a ping pong ball.
It's true. So many traders get lost in all the charts and numbers, and they forget about the most important tool they have, what's up here.
Right, it's like, what use is a Ferrari if you don't know how to drive stick? You need both the tools and the know-how.
Exactly. And that's what this Trading Psychic episode really emphasizes. Real confidence, it doesn't come from like some blind optimism. It comes from knowledge, from really understanding your strategy.
So we're ditching the hype train. No more blindly following the crowd.
Well, easier said than done, right? But look, if you want to survive in this game, you need a solid foundation, and that starts with things like backtesting.
Backtesting. Okay, so like taking your strategy for a test drive, but using data from the past.
That's the gist of it. It helps you see how your plan would have held up in different markets, different scenarios, helps you avoid those classic traps, like confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias, falling in love with the trades that confirm what we already believe. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. So backtesting helps us build confidence. But what about the fear factor? That fear of losing money?
Oh, fear is a huge part of the game, probably one of the biggest, along with, good old greed. Those two can really mess with even the most experienced trader.
So how do we keep those two in check?
By understanding risk. Really understanding it. When you know how much you're comfortable losing and factor that into your plan from the start, that fear starts to lose its grip.
It's like having a safety net, right?
Yeah.
You can still take calculated risks, but you know you've got something there to cushion the fall.
Exactly. And when that fear starts to fade, you can think clearly, make better decisions.
And celebrate the wins along the way. But I'm guessing there's more to it than just popping champagne every time you have a good day, right?
You got it. It's really about building positive reinforcement. Celebrating those small wins tells your brain, hey, this is working, keep going. It reinforces the process, builds consistency.
So confidence comes from knowledge, not just gut feeling. Got it. But let's be real, trading can get messy. How do we stay on track when the market throws us a curveball?
Discipline, my friend, that's where discipline comes in. The Trading Psychic episode really drives this point home. They even call it a relentless battle against all those psychological traps.
Intense. What kind of traps are we talking about here?
Oh, those siren songs of just one more trade, the stock is going to skyrocket, or everybody's buying it, got to get in on the action. They appeal to our impulsiveness, you see.
So how do we fight back? Is it all about having a rock-solid plan?
Bingo. That trading plan is your shield. Tells you when to get in, when to get out, how to manage your risk. Think of it like your roadmap through this crazy market landscape.
So it's not about being a robot, right? We're not saying write a plan and never deviate, no matter what.
Right, not at all. It's more about having that guiding principle, that structure you can lean on, especially when things get a little, emotional. Because we've all been there, making those impulsive decisions we end up regretting.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Especially these days, it's all about instant gratification, that quick dopamine hit.
And the market knows it.
Which brings us to that other key ingredient. Patience. This is where things get really interesting in the Trading Psychic episode, actually.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, they actually suggest meditation as a way to cultivate patience.
Now, hold on a sec. Before you go full-on Zen master on me, I was a little skeptical
I hear
too
ya.
at first.
But think of it less about, reaching some kind of higher state of consciousness and more about training your mind to, recognize those impulsive urges, see those emotional triggers without letting them call the shots.
So it's about hitting the pause button. Like when that little voice is screaming, B-Y, B-Y, B-Y.
Exactly. Creating that space between, the urge and the action, that's the sweet spot. Because those emotions, the fear and greed, they cloud our judgment big time.
The podcast had a great analogy for that. They talked about how an impatient trader's account balance, it's like a roller coaster. Up and down, up and down.
Exhausting, right. And definitely not the path to consistent profits.
Definitely not. So what's the solution? Just zoom out, ignore the daily ups and downs.
In a nutshell, yeah. Shift your perspective to the bigger picture, those monthly, even yearly goals.
So we're talking about playing the long game.
Exactly. And when you stretch out that time horizon, those little bumps in the road, they don't sting as much. They're just part of the ride.
Makes sense. Which actually reminds me of that story from the podcast about how the host completely changed their trading by keeping a journal. Is that another piece of the patience puzzle?
It's more about self-awareness, really, which is essential for all of this. See, journaling, it helps you connect the dots in your own behavior, helps you understand why you make the choices you do.
So it's not just about, oh, I won this trade, I lost that trade. It's about understanding the why behind those wins and losses.
Absolutely. You might start to see, okay, I tend to get a little overconfident after a winning streak. Or maybe I get so risk-averse after a loss that I miss good opportunities. Recognizing those patterns, that's gold.
It's like having your own personal trading coach in a notebook, pointing out those blind spots.
Exactly. And once you see those blind spots, you can actually do something about them. You're not just reacting to the market anymore, you're responding with purpose.
So let's bring it all together, back to those 3 pillars we keep talking about. Confidence, discipline, patience. Imagine yourself in a losing trade. Do you panic and bail early? Or do you have the confidence to trust your strategy knowing you put in the work? Do you break your own rules when things get tough? Or do you have that discipline to stay the course? And do you have the patience to weather the storm? Because let's face it, there will be storms.
That's the name of the game, isn't it? And the answer is, well, they're different for everyone. But that's what this Trading Psychic episode really drives home. It's not about outsmarting the market. It's about mastering yourself.
It's like they say, the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent.
Right.
But when you've got that self-control, that inner strength.
Game changer. And it all starts with understanding those pillars, right? Like we talked about building confidence, not on, wishful thinking, but on solid knowledge, back-tested strategies.
Right, and we talked about how discipline, so that's like your compass, keeps you heading in the right direction, even when everything feels like it's going haywire. And of course, patience, we can't forget that one. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a winning trading account.
Well said. And you know what? The Trading Psychic episode, they left us with a pretty thought-provoking question. They asked,
Hit me with it.
They said, if fear and greed, if those are the real enemies of good trading, how can you, as a trader, how can you manage those emotions in your own journey?
That's a good one, because we all feel them, right? The fear, the greed, it's part of the game. But the thing is, and this is key, we don't have to let them control us.
Exactly. We have a choice. And that's where the knowledge, the discipline, the patience, it all comes together.
It becomes your superpower. Well, this has been an awesome deep dive, to say the least. We went way beyond the charts and the trends. We really got into the psychology of it all.
And remember, knowing this stuff, it's only half the battle. You got to actually use it. So take these insights, put them into practice. Trade with more confidence, more discipline, and more patience too.
Couldn't said it better myself. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the Trading Psychic. Until next time, everyone, happy trading.